We start in the far southwest of China, on a narrow road that few people use. It's late in the day. Rain has been falling for hours, turning the red dirt into slippery mud. The air smells of pine trees and wet soil. On both sides, the mountains rise steep and dark, their tops hidden in swirling mist. In the valley below, there's a small village built into the slope. The wooden roofs are old and bending under years of weight. A faded banner hangs across the only crooked street, the writing too worn to read. Every door is locked. Every window is shut tight. The only sounds are the steady rain and your own breathing. Then, somewhere high above, a single bell rings. The echo rolls through the valley like a warning. This is the last known home of the Sechaun Sect, and its story began centuries ago. The earliest person linked to it is Zhang Baoduan, a government official during the Northern Song dynasty in the 1100s. He was highly educated, trained in Confucian law, and also well-read in the teachings of Lao Tzu and the Buddha. Over time, he grew tired of politics and chasing status. He left his job and traveled south. Old records say he met a mysterious hermit in the mountains. This man taught Zhang about the golden elixir, a practice of inner training meant to balance yin and yang and bring spiritual awakening. Zhang burned his official papers, changed his name to Zhang Ziyang, and began teaching a mix of Taoist, Buddhist, and Confucian ideas. His main lesson was simple. These three paths all lead to the same truth. Immortality could not be found in magic potions, only by training the mind and controlling the breath. His followers, from scholars to hermits, believed that by purifying their hearts, they could rise above death itself. Zhang Ziyang's followers kept his teachings alive through secret groups. Over time, his ideas about inner alchemy blended with local folk religion and spirit worship. People wrote charms on yellow paper, burned them to send messages to the heavens, and pasted talismans on doors to keep away spirits. They performed exorcisms, and villagers asked them for help with rain, crops, and healing. This group became known as the Golden Elixir Society, or, as many called it, the Sechaun Sect, named for the mountains and valleys where it thrived. In the beginning, it was made up of scholars and devoted believers. They used charms, chanting, and rituals. Later accounts say it was one of the largest sects in Shandong at the time. But secrecy often leads to suspicion. By the Ming and Qing dynasties, the imperial court began to fear movements outside the official religions. They worried such groups could lead to rebellion. Many were banned as evil sects. The Sechaun Sect went underground, splitting into small cells, meeting in caves and remote valleys at night. Their teachings became more extreme, predicting that the world's cycle was ending, and that only those with the golden elixir would survive. By the 1800s, China faced deep poverty, famine, and corruption. Secret societies often became centers for revolt. One such group, calling itself the Golden Elixir Way, Jindan Dao, was linked to the old Sechaun Sect. Little is known about their exact beliefs beyond a mix of Taoist, Buddhist, and end-times prophecy, but their actions were well recorded. In 1891, members in Inner Mongolia rose up against Mongol landowners and Qing officials. Armed with swords, talismans, and a belief that the end had come, they moved from village to village. Historical estimates say they killed between 150,000 and 500,000 Mongols and burned temples before Qing troops crushed them. Historians later linked them to the White Lotus sect and described the killings as a massacre. Survivors fled south into Sichuan, bringing with them stories of both miracles and terrible violence. Over time, the tale became a warning told in farming villages. Never join those who promise immortality but deliver death. The official record stops there. What comes next is drawn from oral histories, old court files, and strange accounts gathered in mountain villages. It is not always possible to separate fact from legend. The Sechaun Sect, as it appears in these stories, is both a continuation of the Golden Elixir Society and something changed, shaped by fear, isolation, and time. Elders told anthropologists that in the early 1900s, a wandering healer arrived in the valleys near Mount Emei. He wore a robe embroidered with ancient symbols and carried a bamboo staff carved with the 8 immortals. He spoke of Zhang Ziyang's teachings and claimed he could cure illnesses that Western doctors could not. His treatments, herbal teas, acupuncture, and ritual blessings earned him respect. Soon, men in black coats appeared, calling themselves the Sechaun Sect. They told villagers they could protect them from plague, war, and famine if they were loyal, took part in rituals, and remained silent about what they saw. At first, the gatherings were simple. People met at night to light incense before statues of Lao Tzu, the Buddha, and Confucius. They recited prayers and poems. But the meetings changed. Witnesses spoke of salt circles drawn on the ground, symbols written in chicken blood, and mediums who collapsed into trances, speaking in strange voices. Leaders said these were protections against evil spirits. Soon, members were forbidden from marrying outsiders, speaking about the group, or leaving the valley. Stories spread. A young woman who ran away to marry was found days later in a thicket, her skin marked with strange characters. A farmer who skipped the midnight rites was bitten in his bed by a snake, even though no snakes were seen in winter. Whether these events were supernatural or human revenge is unknown. What is known is that fear kept people from leaving. One of the most unsettling reports comes from a police investigator in the 1930s searching for missing soldiers. His account, still kept in a provincial archive, describes a hamlet high in the mountains. The path there was lined with paper talismans nailed to trees. When he arrived, the village was empty. Bowls of rice still steaming on tables. Doors open. Chickens wandering freely. In one hut, he found a book in an unknown script, filled with drawings of human bodies covered in stars and symbols. In the square, a stone slab stood stained dark. Behind it, carved into the cliff, were the characters for Jindan Dao. As he left, he heard chanting from somewhere above, along with the crackle of fire. He never found the soldiers. When he returned the next day with armed men, the hamlet was gone. The path ended in brambles, and the talismans had dissolved in the rain. His superiors mocked him for believing in ghosts, but until his death, he swore he had seen something unexplainable. Another witness, an elderly midwife, told of the sect's fixation on blood. As a young woman, she was called to help with a birth in a valley she had never visited. Snow lay thick on the ground. She was led into a cave lit by candles placed in human skulls. Around a slab lay women with shaved heads. She delivered the baby, a healthy boy, and was paid generously. As she left, she saw one of the women collect the afterbirth in a bowl, murmuring prayers. Years later, when a plague struck, the sect's leader said it could be prevented by drinking infant blood. The midwife never knew if anyone followed this order, but she told her story with tears in her eyes, saying only, "In that valley, anything was possible." During the Japanese invasion and later the Civil War, the sect's reputation grew. Soldiers and bandits alike avoided certain valleys. Rumors claimed they had poisons, deadly martial arts, or even the ability to vanish into mist. They recruited refugees by offering food, shelter, and safety. In some places they helped, treating wounds and teaching literacy, but always in exchange for total loyalty and silence. Investigators who entered their valleys often did not return. It was during this time that Liu Ming, a young man from Chongqing, joined the sect. Homeless after losing his family to war, he accepted an invitation from a sect recruiter. At first, life seemed peaceful. Regular meals, meditation, and lessons in herbal medicine. But Liu saw troubling things: digging trenches at night, carrying large urns into caves, and once, the body of a stranger being taken inside during chanting. Fearing for his safety, he fled one night. Days later, soldiers raided the valley and found it empty. After 1949, the new communist government targeted secret societies. The Sechaun Sect was declared a reactionary cult. Temples were destroyed and leaders arrested. Many members fled into remote mountains or across borders. By the 1980s, former members described a group in decline. Young people no longer believed in immortality. They wanted jobs in cities. The sect split apart. Today, its name survives mostly in ghost stories and internet rumors. Yet sightings continue. After the 2008 Sichuan earthquake, rescue workers reported finding a group of elderly people in ceremonial robes chanting on a hillside. They called themselves the last of the Golden Elixir Society, claiming the quake signaled the end of a cycle and the start of another. Since then, similar groups have been spotted in remote areas, always old, always chanting, always disappearing when approached. The story of the Sechaun Sect is a mix of fact and legend. There is proof of a golden elixir society, of violent uprisings like Jindan Dao, and of Zhongxiang's original teachings about harmony of mind and nature. But there are also centuries of stories, of blood rituals, disappearances, and hidden knowledge. Perhaps the greatest lesson is how easily a spiritual search can turn to violence. Zhongxiang's golden elixir was meant to be a state of mind. Later followers turned it into potions, blood rites, and rebellion. Secrecy helped the sect survive, but it also allowed it to change in ways that made it feared. And even now, the idea that hidden knowledge can defeat death is enough to keep its name alive in whispers. In the end, whether the most shocking claims are true or not, the Sechaun Sect remains part of China's shadow history, a reminder that in times of chaos, people will follow those who promise safety, meaning, and escape from the fate that comes for us all.